Oh, I felt like I was moving along with the video. That that was a good one. That was
You like that one?
the best one
You're
so
you're
far.
you're you're penetrating into the hallway or whatever that. It looks kind of like the Matrix,
Yeah, or
when they're shooting the guns and stuff.
on Tron, the new Tron movie. There's a scene where they're going through the plane. It's just like that. Trust me. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this episode of Chill with Jim, where it is always business up top and pajamas on the bottom.
So you're on your stand-up desk right now.
I'm standing for the first time. We'll see if
Yeah.
that helps me with my annoying shoulder twitch that I continue to do, even though I'm trying to be conscious of it. No, that was on purpose. Um, I am your host, Jim McCarthy, and I am the client advocate for Strix, Louisiana. My job is to make sure that our clients are set up with the best security, the best equipment, the best software, and the best IT solutions to help make sure that their businesses are running at optimal efficiency. We also have David DeArmond with us.
Hey everybody, David of Armand here. I'm the owner of Strix LA and appreciate you joining us. We're happy to have you today.
All right. So before we start, a little bit about Strix, Louisiana. We believe that there is always a better, simpler, more secure way to do just about everything in this world. So what that means to us is that we are constantly searching and adapting our processes to make sure that we do indeed have the best solutions in place. We believe that part of this responsibility is to help educate our clients as well as all those out there in the streaming world as to how to best use their current resources. We like to bring awareness to current security risks and then just bring up new topics about what's going on in the IT world today. So today, actually, we're going to be touching on the cybersecurity side of things. We're going to be talking about penetration testing. Now, AKA pen testing. I'm going to be saying pen testing for the rest of this episode because it saves me zero point zero 0.07 seconds and it's
Well,
easier to say.
that's a lot of syllables. I mean, penetration, that's 4 syllables versus pin, that's 1 syllable. So I mean, that's so much more efficient. We are all about efficiency here at Strix. So pin testing.
It's better, it's simpler, it's maybe more secure.
Hmm, might
Because
as
it's
well.
more secure because there's less syllables so you can't screw it up. So it gives you that security of saying the word. I just figured it out. Okay, so today, when we're talking about pen testing, we're going to go over what pen testing is. We're going to talk about why it's important. And then we're just going to go over some of the different types of pen testing that are currently being used. Just looking at some of the comments here. David Brin, not the David that's on. We appreciate you squeezing us in there. Thank you. And Barb, the champion, the Strix LA
Trivia,
champion.
Strix LA trivia champion there.
We appreciate your input. So, just to start off, like we're going to talk about what is penetration testing, and pen testing. It also, like we said, it's called just pen tests or pen testing. These are used by IT and security professionals to assess the security of a network, of hardware, of software, pretty much all of the infrastructure you're going to have, digital infrastructure or technology you're going to have at your workplace, maybe even at your home. And what it does is it goes in and it finds weaknesses and vulnerabilities. And this is a process that it's kind of what it looks like. There's a cyber attack that's simulated against whatever system they're going to target. And once that attack is complete, they're going to have a detailed report of all of the vulnerabilities, security suggestions, protections that they've found along through their pen testing. So that way you have like a map or a blueprint or a statistics sheet of like, oh, we got some holes over here. We can do a little bit better over here. Or man, there's a wide open door we're giving to the bad
Yeah.
guys here. Um, I thought about just giving that explanation right now. We had our HVAC person come in and speak to our business group the other day, and they showed, through your ventilation and your ductwork, where there's these pockets that can be where air is escaping, and this is kind of like that. They're going to run a test to see where something could be getting in or out that is dangerous for your company. And what it will do is it'll basically gauge the time it would take for a potential hacker to breach the security. And it's going to better prepare your cybersecurity specialists to respond in that amount of attack time. Also, it's going to point out the areas where they need to go ahead and pay attention to. So typically this test is performed by an ethical hacker. Wait. David, there's such thing as an ethical hacker out
Yeah,
there?
they're actually you see, really, hackers have gotten a bad name. I mean, hackers have been around forever. You could call some of the great inventors like Da Vinci and those, they're hackers. They take something that exists and they break it apart and they figure out how it works, and then they put it together in a different way to make it do something else. That's always been a hacker, and it gained popularity in the world of computers, when someone would break apart a computer, a network, a piece of software, and see how it works. And a lot of times when you break it apart, well, it quits working like it's supposed to. And as hackers get out there and they try to maybe test their skills against something that they don't own, and they break it, well, then hackers start getting a bad name. And then hackers, they a lot of them, the unethical hackers, the bad guys, they started breaking it and using those breaks and those techniques to get in and steal stuff. Okay, so hackers got a bad name, and so in order to distinguish between the bad guys and the good guys, had to add a word, and it's ethical. So yeah, an ethical hacker. There's actually certifications out there for CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker, and that's somebody who knows how to break things, who knows how to get into or penetrate computer systems, but they do it for the right reasons. They do it to see where their vulnerabilities, so that the bad guys don't steal the information. They're not going to go in, take that information, put it on the dark web. They're not going to use that information to do a denial of service attack on your network. They're not going to encrypt all of your information. They're going to just give that information to you and say, here's all the holes, here's what you need to clean up. But it's really the same thing. They're a hacker getting into your stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you can think of it as, in the sense of your security system for your house. You know, before the security company comes out, they're probably going to go around, check the locks that you have, check the doors, check the windows to see what's in place right now, so they can better bolster that. So, would a security professional like that doesn't necessarily have a bad rap. Or, still they have safes that they sell for money for banks. Well, they have to have a safe cracker to test how easy that safe is to get into. And so, again, I think it's been given a bad name, but you know, Angelina Jolie is in the movie, so it can't be that bad. It was one of her first movies.
Matter of
So,
opinion, I guess.
well, okay, it is a matter of opinion. But yeah, so ethical hackers, these are independent third parties who are authorized to conduct an attack on the systems to see if they can bypass that security. And performing these tests, it's going to really help you understand where you're at with your technology infrastructure to make sure you have all those open doors, all of those little gaps in your security, you're going to make sure that those are covered, and at least you have knowledge of them, and you can start to work towards getting those gaps, those holes, those open doors shut, closed. And so we always like to talk about the why here at Chill with Jim. We usually like to start with the why, but it's also can't start with the why if we don't know what pen testing is. So we're starting with the why now. Some statistics: the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center has actually released their annual report for 2020, and there were 790,000 complaints of suspected internet crime. That's an increase of 300,000 complaints from 2019. The reported losses are currently right now exceeding $4.2 billion. So
big money.
Big money.
Whammy.
Big money, big whammies. So that includes, personal as well as businesses. That's their report. So as you can see, 2020 was an active year. We did see a huge shift in digital resources. So all of us had to become remote workers. Most of us had to become remote workers. Most of us had to rely more on our technology. And so it makes sense the numbers would go up because the bad guys are seeing that as a huge opportunity. And so some of the other, besides that big scary number and all this fear, there's some other reasons that companies, especially businesses, are going to look into pen testing and why it should be so important to their organization. Compliance is a huge one right now. So if your company's website uses online payment methods, debit, credit card transactions over the web, over your wireless network, over your network, you're required to comply with what's called PCI/DSS. Most of us just know it as PCI compliance or PCI regulations. And according to these rules, you must conduct an annual pen testing exercise on the site, on your website, on your infrastructure to make sure that those threats can be mitigated. It will recognize those threats and it will shield all of your clients, your customers from the hackers. It'll protect your data on that website. So that's a big one. I cannot really think of anyone in retail that's not using some form of this. Well, actually, Fleur de Lis Pizza only takes cash.
That's true.
So and I don't know if they're a restaurant retail. Is that retail? I don't know. Anyway, I digress there. So off topic a little bit. And then also one of the ones we've talked about recently for DoD contractors that are out there, the CMMC regulations, the compliance that's required for your CMMC certification is going to require a pen test as well. Now, David, we do have a Chill with Jim episode solely dedicated to CMMC. Check it out. But also, David, a little brief talk on that, and then what are some of the areas or the systems that the CMMC is concerned about when it comes to this pen testing test?
Yeah, the pen testing required by CMMC, and CMMC is a certificate that you have to get that judges your cyber maturity, right? So it's how mature is your cybersecurity within your company, and they're trying to protect sensitive information, number one, because you're working with the Department of Defense. There's lots of sensitive information. Number two, they're trying to protect systems that have access to sensitive information. That's kind of the whole point of the CMMC certification, is to make sure that the data is protected from the systems that access the data. So the pen testing requirements for CMMC, they go a bit beyond what PCI compliance is going to require. They want you to do it more often. They want you to do it in more detail. It's got to be, they want you pen testing pretty much everything. So if you're developing software that you're using for DoD, they want the software pen tested. If they want your internal networks pen tested, they want it pen tested from both the inside and the outside. There are many requirements when you get into the CMMC, and then moving into the others, your SOC compliance and in the financial world, those as well are kind of the same way.
Yes, so that's a big one. Like we said, PCI is all over the place. People really are using that in some form, most likely. So you're going to have some sort of pen testing required for those compliances. And so why not, before the test comes, know where your weak points are,
Yeah.
like, you can go into the test knowing that you're covered, basically. Since it's required, they probably have their own company they're going to use, but you can pay an ethical hacker or a service out there to do that pen test. So whenever it is December, you're going to have your PCI compliance review. Boom, there's no issue. We already took care of it.
Yeah. You don't want to find out, when the compliance auditor comes in and they do their own pen test. You don't want to find out at that point that there's a hole, and maybe they shut you down for a time while you patch that hole, and it might take a little while. It might require changing systems. We have a comment here from Barb. She's using email me form for credit cards to be PCI compliant for a travel agency, and that's a smart way to go. If your website isn't the one that actually collects the credit card information, you can use a service like Email Me Form, collects the credit card. They do pen. I can promise you, Email Me Form, they're doing pen testing. They're probably doing some very serious pen testing over there, and so you can use those services, and that can help you in the PCI world when you start getting into some of the other certifications like CMMC. Then you have to step up how much is done.
Yes, yeah. Some other reasons we'll go over, crisis training. So, with the pen test, what you're going to get is you're going to be able to train your security teams how to immediately react and to become effective when overcoming a security breach or another digital crisis. It's also going to get your workers inside, the users of the computer, the people who you employ. It's going to get them aware of what it looks like if a crisis does happen, but also it's going to, with that awareness, creates an awareness throughout the day. So they're probably going to be a little more reluctant to click on that $5 million given from the Nigerian princess, but maybe not. But they probably will be a little bit more, at least in tune to what's going on. Your network can be vulnerable from several different types of cybersecurity. And so going and seeing where those are, it really helps your team, your employees recognize that, hey, there are these areas that we have to watch. Let's be mindful of them. And then if they're able to fix them during that, then it's great. So it gives you a preparedness. If you're implementing some new technology, it's a great time to get a pen test done. New products, new applications. You really want to see what putting them into your environment is going to do or possibly open up.
Yeah, that's I think that's a big one when you're talking about applications, especially custom built applications. Those are usually running on some server of yours that has access to other information of yours. And it's those supply chain attacks that we've talked about several times. You may use a component in your application, and you don't know that there's a vulnerability out there. The hackers know there's a vulnerability out there, and so you use this component in your application. You publish it to the web, or make it available. A hacker does a scan, finds, hey, there's that vulnerability, and now they're plugging in their instructions out there on the dark web, or you probably don't even have to go to the dark web to get instructions on some of these vulnerabilities. break right in. Now they've got access to your information. Uh, most software developers, at least the ones that I know, they're not thinking about that. They are there to create something that is useful, and they'll use components from other places and never even think about security. So it's a good idea to, if you have your own application, you need somebody that's going to plug away at it, try to break into it, because you don't want to deal with that day when it's the bad guy that breaks into it.
Yeah, yeah, and especially thinking about client-facing software. So if you put this out for your clients to use, and all of a sudden they're the target, and there's a huge breach, and you're the one who released 1,000 credit card and credentials out. It creates a very bad name. It's hard for people to regain that trust. So a lot of the information out there you're going to read talks about throughout the development stage, you really want, if you're doing your own application or having someone else help you write like a CRM or something like that, get them involved during the development, because it's much easier to fix those vulnerabilities at the beginning, and it can prevent a lot less damage. You're not putting your name on the line once it's just in development. And then it just helps you verify that all of your security protocols, your company regulations, are good, that they're prepared, that kind of everybody understands them. It's like, a fire drill back in the day, or having every family should have that escape plan, right? We're going to meet at the big tree outside, and or with the fire drill, they're timing you, seeing if all the students came out, and little Timmy's in the back still, and no one knew he was in this room because no one checked this room. We got to add that to our fire drill training. So it's a good run through of what you have in place to see how it's going to stand up to the, what was it, 700, 900,
There we go again with the numbers.
don't do it, 700,000 complaints against the security issues out there. So cyber attacks, they're all over the place. And don't you dare. It was a number with a 7 too last time, so I don't know.
And that's your favorite number.
It's my favorite number, but I think it's probably because it should just be left alone. 7 should just be an entity of its own. And so that's some of the why behind that. You can see there's a lot of reasons, whether you're a company or even if it's a home-based solution. You can pretend to be the hacker. You can look at it from the outside of, oh, geez, can people get into my router? What's my password like? Oh, what's the admin password of my wireless router? Oh, everybody's is admin. That's the username, and everybody's is password. That's the password. Ooh, I should probably change that. So you can do this to really get a glimpse of what you need to put into place. There are quite a few different types of pen testing that are out there. They're basically different styles, different weapons you can use, or defense mechanisms you can use in your arsenal to be proactive against any of the cyber criminals coming in. To help, like I said, bolster those front lines, help bring up your cybersecurity, and just help you be more effective. Before we go into the types, we'll go over some of the approaches that are going to fit into the types here. So the approaches are kind of going to give you a top tier. We'll break it down into a much little more granular tier there. Black box testing. Now, this is an approach where the ethical hacker, the person trying to get in, or the company trying to break into your stuff, has absolutely no information about what type of computers you use, what software you use. They don't know anything about the target. If the target's us, they don't know anything about Strix. They're just coming in and seeing where they can enter. So this is like the closest thing to a real world attack for a tester, because there's no information out there. They're not coming in with a, well, they use QuickBooks, or it's like you don't get to case the joint before you break in. You're just going in and seeing where you can find it. So that's black box testing. I'm sure Harley, that's probably one of his favorites, because Harley's an ethical hacker we've had on here before, but he's just so intrigued with hacking, ethically hacking, that I'm sure that's probably one of his favorites. The white box testing, that's where you're going to have a little bit more information. The pen tester is going to have more information on your company. They're going to be given some hints. They're going to give basically give you a network ecosystem of what you have in place. And the goal here is to do a little bit more specific targeting of your overall security, because they're coming in, they do know quite a few things that you have going on. It gives them a little more preparedness to go in to look at maybe some of the back end processes that are going to be associated with your systems, with your devices. It just kind of gives them a little bit of a leg up. You think about the vast amount of information on the dark web. We have a show with Jim about the dark web. If you're wondering what is this, there's information about so many companies, so many people. So it's going to be highly unlikely, unless you're a really high dollar, high profit target, that the bad guys are going to come in without any type of information.
Yeah.
So that's where that white box testing is going to really provide you a good insight there. And then the gray box testing is basically a combination of both. The pen tester might be given, oh, they have this web application and they use Mac computers. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of that, the cost will change with each of those. So one reason you might go with white box pen testing is because it's by providing that information to the ethical hacker, they don't have to go get it. They don't have to go on the dark web and find it. Which takes time. All of that takes a lot of time, and when you're taking up time, you're also taking up money. So a black box test may be a little bit more expensive, because the hacker is going to have to case the joint themselves. Whereas if you provide them all of that information, they have a starting point, and now they know exactly what they're going to test when they're going in. Saves a bunch of time, may save you some money as well.
Good point. Good point. I didn't think about it from the financial part, but that's a great point. And so when we're referring to hackers, remember it's the pen tester, basically. They are going to use hacking to get in. So we're not saying they're bad. We're just saying that they're basically the pen tester. So if we just go right into hacker, just remember it's the pen tester. So the different types now we'll go into probably the most common that the people out there, the most common to everybody that's just in kind of what the civilians out here is network pen testing. So that's where they're going to try to get into your infrastructure through your network. So typically that's internet. You're going to think about that as internet. Or the other systems have to go outside of your building somehow to talk to something else. They're going to try to come in that way. So what they're looking for there is vulnerabilities, gaps, loopholes. They're going to look for anything in your network infrastructure that they can get into: routers, switches, anything that's connected to your network that might already have a flaw in it. They're going to be looking for this. This includes hosts. Like even if you're having something hosted out, they're going to look for ways in through that. And they can do this internally, externally, just depends on how they're going to do it. But they'll look at your firewall. They're going to look at your server. They might even try to get in through your mail servers, DNS, open ports on your network, or proxy servers. There's a ton of stuff. Now, David, all that stuff I just said, what? That just means there's a lot of entry points?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of holes out there. When you have a web application, you a lot of times there's some sort of SQL server in the back end, and so an SQL injection attack is very common in that scenario. And you're coming from the outside. It's a web application. You put information in one of those fields on the website. You put it in a certain way, and if there aren't sufficient protections in place, you can actually make the SQL server do things just by the information that you put in the field on a website, and that has progressed. It's gotten a lot better, but it's still a common attack. You mentioned DNS, and there was a lot of chatter about a big attack I think last week with DNS and attacking every little individual device that runs a DNS server. And you see this a lot in IoT devices. They're putting information out publicly. And a hacker, if they find out that you have this particular IoT device and they know that it is vulnerable to this DNS attack, they'll send a specially crafted packet, information packet, to that device, and that device will come under their control. That device is inside your network, and so that's a common approach for a pen tester. That's what they're going to do. They're going to look for anything that speaks to the outside world, and they're going to find a vulnerability for it, get in, and now they have access to your entire network.
Yeah, yeah. And along with that, they do have this as a separate category. And we're not going to touch on all the different types, but just kind of some of the major ones. Wireless network pen testing. So there's vulnerabilities within your wireless devices inside of your company that you use. They're also being brought in by your employees. But just like that example I gave you about the wireless router, I mean, that's 90% of the routers that you're going to buy. So, oh, we just need a new Wi-Fi for the office. Go to your local store, and I'm trying not to name drop. Go to your local store and buy a wireless router. You set it up, and you go ahead and you name it. Let's Strix LA, and you put in a very secure password. Well, the actual device, you can log into that device by using the username, most likely admin, and the password. Really hard here, guys. Password, all
Yeah.
lowercase.
Yeah, and that's, we had Brad Proctor on several episodes back. Well, he's been on several episodes, but he was talking about war driving, and that's what a war driver will do. They'll drive around trying to crack your wireless network. And so who do you want testing that wireless network? Do you want it to be a war driver that's going around trying to break your stuff or get into your stuff, or do you want it to be a pen tester that's going to show you the vulnerabilities and let you put the protections in place beforehand?
Yeah, and David mentioned it earlier, but this is going to include the things that your employees, the things that your customers, your clients will bring into this environment, which is IoT devices. Now, David, what is a IoT device?
IoT device, yeah. IoT, that's the Internet of Things. That's what it stands for. Anything that deals with technology has to have an acronym. Technology or military, it has to have an acronym, right? Yeah, so Internet of Things, that's all of those devices. You can kind of think of it, anything that connects to your smartphone, those smart apps. Most of those are IoT devices. If you can access that device from your phone when you're on vacation, that's an IoT device. So we're talking thermostats, we're talking light bulbs, TVs. A lot of companies use it for sensors. That you can put an IoT device, let's say on an elevator, if you have an elevator in your office, and it can actually track the motor, and it can detect when the motor is starting to have signs of wear and tear that you need to fix before the elevator breaks. That's an IoT device. It's a little device that connects to the internet, and it's an open door.
Yeah, yeah, and think about, so if I'm bringing my cell phone, my tablet, my wireless headphones, Bluetooth, if that's connected to a source that is compromised, you're bringing it into work, to your business, and creating a big security risk there. So one of the things that we've talked about, network segmentation, this is where you don't want your employees connecting all of their cell phones, all of their personal devices to the same wireless network that you're using for internal business apps.
Yeah. How many texts? I'm curious out there in Facebook land and everywhere else. How many texts do you get of, you can use this trick to lose 20 pounds, and they give you a link, or something to trick you to clicking on the link. A lot of times that link is packed with malware, and you follow that link, it's going to load a little program on your phone. Now your phone is under the control to some extent of a hacker, and so then you bring that phone into your business environment, and the phone is sitting there scanning and it's waiting. Oh, look, I'm in a business environment. I see a Windows server. I'm going to connect to that Windows server, and I'm going to drop a little program to give the hacker access to this server, and then it spreads.
Yeah, and speaking of that, yesterday I got
yes,
USPS
I got that one too.
delivery.
Funny, it must have been the same package.
Yeah, yesterday, and then I got one the day before. So unwillingly, we might click on these things. We might actually have a package waiting at the USPS and be like, "Oh crap! Okay, let me click on that." Or you open up the text and you accidentally click on that link, which while I was holding it here, I was making sure I wasn't doing.
Right.
So that's some of the ways you can think of unintentionally bringing in, opening Pandora's box. That's why it's so important to have your network set up correctly, so that even if something gets in to where everybody hangs out on their cell phones, it's not going to affect your where your customer database is.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect your financials. So very, very important. And another type is my favorite type, social engineering. And
yes. A lot of people don't think about this one when they're thinking about pen testing.
It's my favorite. So the going after the human network at your organization, it's through different targeting techniques. They're going to try to manipulate, use phishing, trickery, scams, threats, tailgating, and dumpster diving to gain access to your data, to confidential information.
You have to for South Louisiana audience and SEC audience, you have to define tailgating here.
I was getting back to it.
Okay.
Tailgating is, because I didn't know what it was. We have, our office is at the tech park, and there's a sign on the door when I first started that says no tailgating. And I was like, why would people be tailgating out here?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and what do they have against it? I mean, what if we do want to tailgate out here, have a little party, drink some beer, have some barbecue? There's nothing wrong with that.
No. So tailgating is when I'm entering a doorway and I open up the door to get in physically to a location. Someone quick hops in behind me. That's tailgate. You're tailgating that person, and
right.
you might not even know that person's there. They wait to that last second till it's about to click, and they stop the door. Everything, the door is shut. It's open just enough for them to slide on in.
Well, and I can tell you, at a place like the tech park, there's a lot of people there, and you kind of assume that they belong, and the pen tester is going to use that assumption that most people will make, and they'll sit by the door and they're on their phone, and that when you're in the office, the phone the signal's terrible, and so it's not you've gone outside and used your phone for a minute and then gone back in, so it's not unusual to see someone sitting right by the door using their phone, and you walk in and they just put their phone down and you put it in their pocket and walk on in behind you, just like, hey, they belong there.
Yep, that's it. It's super easy. Happens all the time. And even, it happens all the time. Like, we forget our keys or something, or we have iris scans, so we forget to bring our eyes to work, and now we gotta now we gotta just tailgate the guy behind us or in front of us. So, but you again, with all the people you see throughout the day, it, it's it doesn't it's not normal. Oh, they don't belong here because
Yeah,
you see it.
you want to trust the people that you're around. You don't
Yeah,
automatically assume that they have bad intentions.
right, right. And so, unfortunately, for all of us, human beings are the weakest link, and everything cybersecurity related. It's usually by lack of awareness, and it's exploited by the bad guys. So the numbers range, but about 90% of all cyber attacks are initiated through an accident of a human.
Yeah.
So this could be a phishing attempt, which is considered social engineering. This could be anything opening up the wrong website, downloading the wrong program. Uh, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can be phone calls that come in to steal some sort of sensitive information, just based on a phone call. I know David Brin's got a great story about a restaurant, and it's that kind of penetration testing, and they were actually stealing cold hard cash. It wasn't even cybersecurity necessarily, but it's still pen testing.
Yeah. Yep. And so a good example here, and it's related to a story. I'll get to the story, but so someone walks in. Hey, I'm John Johnson with Icon Pest Control. Your boss called, said there's a bunch of rats. There's a bunch of mice going on, and I just need to check out the area. But as you can see, I'm with Icon Pest Control, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to go around and just squirt some of the pesticide around here to make sure that we get this mice problem under control. And they'll come in with an actual outfit,
Yeah.
with a badge that says that they're supposed to be there. They might even know the name of your boss because they've done their homework.
They called ahead. They checked
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
So David DeArmond, the owner of Strix, he called me very upset. He said that he went to open up the fridge. There was roaches everywhere. I just need to get into the building, and if you could just let me in, I'm gonna just spray my stuff, and I'll be out of your hair. I'll be here 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So one of the stories I heard about the social engineering was a guy who did the exterminator bit. He filled his little water bottle thing full of just water with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. So there was a smell to it. And when the people wouldn't let him beyond maybe the front room, or maybe he was in an area where he wanted the people out so he could leave his little dummy devices all over the place, he would start squirting. He would have a huge mask, huge respirator on, and he would just start squirting it, and you'd see the people start smelling that rubber and alcohol. Excuse me, sir, is this safe for us to be in this room? Oh yeah, it's totally safe. He's got the mask, the huge mask on. Yeah, it's totally safe. Don't even worry about it. I just wear this because I'm exposed to it every day. It's not that harmful. Just don't worry about it. And he'll go around the room and just keep spraying. And next thing you know, he's got an empty room to himself.
Yeah.
And that's one of the stories I laugh about. I think is really funny. But it happens for realsies. And what they'll do is while they're in there, they might have a little USB. And now that they scared the crap out of you with their fake chemicals, they're going to put this USB into your computer, and this computer is going to infiltrate every single system on the network, on your computer, everybody else's, and you're the one that let them in the door.
Yeah, another one that I've heard of is that the pen tester will dress up as someone that works in IT for the company, and they'll walk in and say, "Hey, we need to get an update on your machine real quick. Do you mind if I sit down and do that?" They're going to sit down. Oh, I've got the update, like you had the USB stick. I've got the update right here. I'm just going to plug this in. Okay, update's done.
Yeah.
There goes your
Oh,
network.
and what? Real quick, what was your password again, so I can get this
Right.
update done? Oh, it was my
Oh, it's right
dog's.
under the keyboard. Thank you.
Yeah, it's written there right there on the sticky note.
Uh,
And so that happens. Like the people, just so you know, there's an industry of professionals that do this hundreds of times a day. Like right now, there's someone physically doing this as a pen tester. I have a friend, I was trying to get him on for this episode, but he wasn't able to. But when people ask him what he does, he says he's a bank robber because they have him do all the banks, and he'll go to a bank dressed as something else and see how far he can get, leaving these dummy, they call them little dummy devices, all along the way, plugging them in when no one's looking. And so they can go back and show, well, hey, look, Mr. Bank owner, we put in 8 USBs, and actually, he says about almost probably about 40% of the time, they let him into the vault.
yeah.
They will get him all the way into the vault, people, the big safe. No one's supposed to go in. Oh yeah, let him in. Yep. And one of the common
There's
ones
roaches in here, or there's mice in here. Yeah.
there, yeah,
Get them out. And I don't want to be in here.
yeah. They're huge. They're huge, huge mice. Uh, but there's many, many different techniques. The IT one works. I got to tell you, as a IT professional, I say I'm the IT guy and I have free reign. That's about all. They don't have to know who Jim is. They don't have to know who Strix is. I have had it a lot where I just come in. I'm the IT dude, and oh okay, oh yeah, cool. What do you need? Yeah, Dave sent me, and what's that password again? But like, and I'm there for honest reasons, but they just see, especially shirt on, you know, with a
All it
logo
takes is a
maybe.
shirt, right? A
Yeah.
logo. That's
Yeah.
all it takes.
And so this is going on all the time. That brings us to the next type, which kind of blends in, but it's physical penetration testing. So besides the dressing up, the social part, they're just going to go around and look for holes or vulnerabilities in your actual building, your parameter. Where's all the security cameras at? Um, can I, is the front door, do they constantly lock it? Do they not? Do they have alarms? What type of locks do they have? What type of cameras do they have? Motions, all of this stuff. They're going to be able to really walk around your building and get a lot of this information. Now, a recent one we talked about. So let's just say they get your security camera maker, the brand of your security camera. Now they know that if I go and search security cameras plus, that, hey, look, on the dark web, it tells me there's all of these vulnerabilities in these security cameras. I'm going to try to get in. They get into the security camera, boom, they're inside of everything. Hopefully you have it
Yeah.
segmented, but
Yeah, and maybe they're doing the door thing where they're testing all the doors, just like someone going around the cars testing the doors. They find one that's unlocked or normally unlocked, and there's a camera that monitors it. But hey, if we can get into the camera system, then we turn that camera off, and then we open the door.
yes. Yep, there's the application pen testing. We already talked about that quite a bit, so we're not going to go into that. But you really want, especially if you're making applications or you're developing, working with a developer, get someone in there to test it for you, see where those holes are. And then they do some internal testing, which is there's people that actually will get hired onto your organization to see how far they can get. So again, this is going to be a very secure environment. It's like having a mole in the CIA, you know. But there's people that do this and companies that do this where they're going to get they're going to have someone hired by your organization, and that whatever position that person has, they're going to see how far they can get.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I've heard before, if you try to do federal government work, they're going to do a background check on you, and part of that background check is pulling your credit. And a lot of people get upset. Why are they pulling? They have, that's no business of theirs. It doesn't matter if I have good or bad credit. I should be able to do my work. One of the reasons that they check this is because if you go into an area with sensitive information and you have really bad credit, maybe a lot of outstanding bills, maybe you've had a kid that was sick and very sick, and it's racked up medical bills, you're big in debt, and someone comes along and offers you $1 million to just bring this USB key. All I'm asking you to do, you bring this in, you plug it into your computer. That's all I'm asking you to do. And it's $1 million for you. And that, man, you got all these bills and you can't get something done for your kid because you don't have the money for it. You might be tempted by that $1 million. So that's a big reason that companies implement these background checks, because they need to understand how big of a risk are you.
Yes, great point. Great point. That's a good. I didn't think. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But if you have a sick kid at home, you might not take it that first offer.
Yeah.
But maybe that 7th or 8th offer, you're going to be like, man, I just, it's $1 million.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily going to be. Yeah, it's not necessarily going to be that up front. The person that's attacking you, they're going to, maybe run into you somewhere and, oh, we have something in common. Let's go grab a beer. And you're sitting down and you're just talking, and it comes up, and so it's certainly a big concern. There are stories out there. You can go look it up on the Google and find stories of that exact thing happening.
Yeah. So we wanted to go ahead and introduce pen testing to everyone out there. Something that everyone that's in the business environment should really start to consider putting as in their security arsenal. Again, if you don't know where those holes are, it's really hard to fill them.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like, of all the things that we talked about here, it sounds like it would be extremely expensive, and it depends really on what level you want to go. There are very, very expensive pen testing services out there. When you have someone dressing up as an IT guy or pest control, those are typically going to be more expensive, but most businesses don't need that level of pen testing. There are also services out there, they're automated pen testing, and it's since a lot of these exploits are known exploits, someone can build a little box, and you can put it internal on a network or external on a network, and it will scan your firewall or anything else that it can find and look for those known vulnerabilities. And that's not really a person that is doing that. And so those pen tests tend to be much more affordable. They're going to give you good information. The person that runs the pen test is going to be able to lend their expertise behind it, and really that's what you're paying for at that point, is the expertise behind it. You're not paying for all of the effort it takes to actually break into something.
Yeah, and so great. Love hearing about. So it can be affordable to at least get your foot in the door and stop them from getting their foot in the door. But you can save millions, thousands, so much money if you do it now rather than when it happens. You can also save on so much emotional, reputational damage that you're going to experience when this does happen. It's really hard to get your name back out there and trusted once you've released something that people are upset about.
Yeah, I know. I saw a video one time, and I don't remember if it was a malicious attack or a pen tester doing it. It doesn't really matter. The point is, the IT guy that was working at this company didn't know that the attack was going on. So whether it was ethical or not, the IT guy didn't know. And you see that there's video of him getting on, and he sees ransomware, and oh crap. And he kind of responds, well, this IT guy was prepared. He knew what he was doing, and he had backups in place. And so you see him work for a minute, and he gets that done, and then he goes to his backup, and he goes to restore the backup, and that's when he sees that all of his backups have been deleted, and he's looking for his backups. The guy gets physically sick, like you see, he just you can see his whole body language change, and he actually grabs the trash can and throws up in it because he just realized he's got no way to recover from this ransomware attack. He thought he was being covered. It's a whole lot better to get that information from an ethical hacker than to go through that experience where you are physically sick. A business owner, can you just imagine? You think you're safe, and then you find out, oh, not safe at all. Everything's gone. Get that pen tester in to test it instead.
Yeah, and we don't even do pen testing, so we're not plugging our products here. Like, we're just telling you, like, it's very important. It's not one size fits all. Like David talked about, there's a ton of different ways to do it. Start small if you want. Get started on it and go from there. But once you see where the vulnerabilities are, it's like what they say about the measured. Something measured always improves, right?
Yeah.
So even if you just know about them, it's gonna better your situation than just being totally in the dark about it. And so go out there, research some information. If you have questions about who to use or what type of service, we can at least give you some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing pen testing. Well, we do some automated pen testing, but we don't do the in-depth pen testing yet. But we know some guys. I know a guy. All right. So if you want some pen testing done, certainly reach out to us. We can get you in touch.
And I'll get my exterminator suit ready. That would be so much fun for me.
We're not going to have you on Chill with Jim anymore. It's going to be sorry. Jim's out there social engineering people.
Yeah, maybe I'll be a mailman that day. Who knows? So
you definitely should have dressed up for this episode.
I don't have any uniforms.
You did have the icon hat, so I guess
that was
that's
the best
good
I had. I have a sailor hat, like
Yeah.
a captain's hat, but I was like, how does that play into this?
Hey,
and I thought about it too.
I'm the sailor guy. Can you let me in, please?
I thought like El Capitan exterminating here at your service, but then I was like, well, then it's just an excuse for me to wear my goofy hat. So
Yeah.
maybe
Not
next
very
time.
convincing.
No, maybe we'll just have a social engineering episode, and I'll have like 10 different uniforms I can put on, costumes. I'm the Elvis Presley impersonator here.
For the big party.
Yeah. All right. Enough fun. No more fun. No, I'm just kidding. So everybody who's watching, do me a favor, like Strix LA on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the social stuff.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Subscribe, follow, like, comment, all those things.
All those social things.
All those social things. Do that for us if you wouldn't mind, because we do appreciate all of your support coming out, watching these episodes. We really hope it's helping you along your journey. And any questions you have, reach out to us. You can do it through Facebook or through YouTube. We'll get there. We'll get your comment, and we'll get back to you pretty quick. And so, David, what's on the docket for next week?
It's going to be a stormy Chill with Jim next week. Does that sound ominous? Yeah, we're talking about thunderclouds. All right, we talk about the cloud all the time. What happens when your cloud infrastructure goes down? Oh, everything's in the cloud, and now you have no internet, or Microsoft had a big outage, or Amazon or Google had a big outage. Now what do you do? We're going to talk about that a little bit.
So we'll go into some ways. Next week, it's going to be the same chill time at the same chill network. So thank you again for joining us, David, Barb. We appreciate your comments. David Brin, hope to get you on soon. And everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Had to look at the day.